Alright, so today we are reviewing income tax. We talked about it in Unit 4, so today should just be a review because we already know how to solve for income tax. Before getting into problems about income tax, let's go over our percent proportion. So if you remember, our percent proportion is over of equals percent over 100. Let's take a look at number 1. What is 20% of 800? So the reason why we say is over of is because that clues us into where we should put our variable and where we should put our numbers. So for number 1, what is, we don't know what our is. We're going to put an X. 20% of 800. Our of is 800, so we're going to put that down here and make that equal to 20% over 100. Now we have a proportion. Let's cross multiply to solve. So I have 100 times x is 100x, and 800 times 20 equals 16,000. Solve for x by using your inverse operation, which is division, and x equals 160. So 160 is 20% of 800. Moving on to number 2. 19 is 30% of what number? So for number 2, we have our is, which is 19. We do not have our of, so we're going to put x. Our percent is 30, and we always put our percent over 100. Cross multiply. We get 30x equals 1,900. Divide by 30 on both sides, and we're going to get a decimal here. We're going to round to the nearest tenth and get 63.3. So 19 is 30% of 63.3. For our next one, 120 is what percent of 800? In this case, we have our is and we have our of, but we do not have our percent. So 120 over 800 equals x over 100. Cross multiply. We get 800x equals 12,000. Divide by 800 on both sides, and you get x equals 15%. Okay? So that's how we can use our percent proportion to solve for our income tax. So here's a reminder of what income tax is. First, let's talk about income. Income is money that you earn from a job. So whenever you have a job, the money that you make is called income. Income tax is money collected by the government based on how much you earn. So when you start working and when you start getting paychecks, you'll see that the government takes out a certain amount that goes towards income tax. Unfortunately, something that we all have to do. So some of your check will get taken away, but not too much, okay? Let's go over solving for income tax. So there's 2 ways you can do it, either by our percent proportion or changing our percent into a decimal and multiplying. Number 1, a doctor has an annual income of $152,125. The income tax the doctor has to pay is 6%. What is the amount of income tax in dollars and cents the doctor has to pay? So we're looking for our is here. So we're going to put x over our income, which is $152,125, and make that equal to 6% over 100. Cross multiply. 100x equals 912,750. Divide by 100 on both sides, and x equals $9,127.50. So 6% of our income will come out to $9,127.50. So you can either do it the percent proportion way, or we can do it by changing our percent into a decimal and multiplying, and we should get the same answer. So 6% as a decimal, when we move our decimal over 2 times to the left, we're going to get 0.06. Go ahead and multiply. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 2 is 18. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 3 is 15. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 5 is 30 plus 1 is 31, and 6 times 1 is 6 plus 3 is 9. I'm not going to multiply by 0 because I'm going to get 0. I'm not going to waste my time. Work smarter, not harder. I have 2 numbers behind my decimal, so I'm going to move this over 2 times to the left. And I got my same answer, $9,127.50. Alright, for number 2, we are not going to use the griddable because we won't be able to fit in it. Alright, a dentist has an annual income of $252,125. The amount of income tax a dentist has to pay is 8%. Okay, underline my important information. What is the amount of income tax in dollars and cents that the dentist has to pay? All right. So once again, we're looking for our is. X over 252,125 equals 8 over 100. Cross multiply. 100x equals 2,017,000. Divide by 100 on both sides, and you should get x equals 20,170. All right, let's change our percent into a decimal and multiply to see if we get the same answer. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 4 is 20. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 2 is 10. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 is 17. 8 times 5 is 40 plus 1 is 41. And 8 times 2 is 16 plus 4 is 20. 2 numbers by my decimal. And we got the same answer, $20,170 in income tax. Let's turn to the back. So for 3 and 4, I'm going to just use my percent as a decimal to multiply. If Jenny makes $34,000 a year and the income tax rate is 15%, how much will she pay in income tax? So 34,000 times 0.15, because that is our percent as a decimal. 5 times 0, 5 times 0, 5 times 0, 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17. Go ahead and throw in my placeholder. 1 times 0, 1 times 0, 1 times 0, 1 times 4, and 1 times 3. Add them up. 0, 0, 0, 0, 11, and 5. All right, 2 numbers behind my decimal, so I move this over 2 times. So the amount of income tax she has to pay is $5,100. And for number 4, same thing. I'm going to use my percent as a decimal and multiply. Peter earned $24,000 last year with 18% income tax. How much income tax did she pay? 24,000 times 18% as a decimal, 0.18. Go ahead and multiply. 8 times 0, 8 times 0, 8 times 0. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 3 is 19. Placeholder. 1 times 0, 1 times 0, 1 times 0, 1 times 4, 1 times 2. Add those up. 0, 0, 0, 2, 13, 5. 2 numbers behind my decimal. 1, 2. So she's going to pay $5,320 in income tax. All right. The 2 on the bottom, I want you to try on your own. You can use your percent proportion or your percent as a decimal. Either way, whichever works for you. Go ahead and get to it.